welcome to another episode of the Best Three podcast. I am Alvin. That is Torrey. Torrey's a little pumped up tonight. He's clapping. I'm a little pumped up too. I love Monte Carlo. Th, how we living?
Our goal next year is to be front row center at Monte Carlo next year.
Oh, brother, don't get me started.
Okay.
Don't get me started.
Because I realize now, first of all, the tournament looks amazing. That Monte Carlo Country Club, if anybody out in Monte Carlo is listening, I would love to be the director at the Monte Carlo Country Club. Let me just say that right now. But my main goal, Alvin, is so I can get front row seats and watch this front row. And then we can deliver this podcast from Monte Carlo and talk about what I'm seeing. I was disappointed in the end of Miami, to be honest with you. And I think, with all due respect to Taylor Fritz, he was clearly dinged up a little bit, and he's been dinged up since he pulled out some tournaments and whatnot. Jakob Mensik has had to take a spot in a few events. I was impressed with Jakob being able to come through. I was disappointed in Novak. And that's hard to say for, was it 24?
You talking about in the final of Miami?
In the final.
Prior to this one,
And Alvin, you know I've said this before. Sometimes players peak a bit too early. And that Dimitrov match, he played flawless tennis. Not good, flawless. I think he might have missed 6 serves the entire match. Okay?
You're talking about Novak when Novak beat Grigor
Dimitrov
semifinals of Miami.
And so good that I felt like he came down and played a very average, very human, which for Novak, that unfortunately happens only every once in a while. Yeah. But he played a very human final against Jakob Mensik, who of course played out of his mind, but nothing to lose and played great. All that said, Monte Carlo showed me a bunch of things. I'll start off with the clay court season is a very different kind of a season. There are, and I'm going to just break this down, Alvin. There are hard quarters that can play on clay.
Sure.
But they're not clay quarters.
For example, who would you say is a hard quarter that can play on? Is Novak a hard quarter that can play on clay?
Novak is a GOAT. He's transcended.
Okay.
He's the avatar. He can do it.
Like Alex de Minaur.
There it is. Alex de Minaur is your prototype. He is your, I'm a hard quarter. I take returns early. I like balls on the rise. And while I'm adept at clay, it doesn't mean that it's my favorite service. And I'm not very good per se with the extra time, nor am I great at going behind you, nor am I great at having a few clay court tactics.
I know we'll come back to Alex in a little bit, but like to his credit, Alex is 27 years old, and he early in his career struggled on clay. He has made himself into I'm not going to lose my ass out here on clay. I'm not going to, blow you away, but I'm going to hold my seed. I feel like that's probably his expectation going through the next 2 months is like, let's get to the quarterfinals.
He mission accomplished.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
But my point is, for a guy that's trying to push quarters or better, trying to beat his American prototype in Tommy Paul, he needs to really, in my opinion, be a threat on the clay, as good as his wheels are, as good as his shot production is, as good as his returns are. He has an underrated serve. Serve's actually not bad.
Not bad.
And he volleys okay. Comes that well. I don't want to get into it. He did not show me the level of tennis this tournament that I walk away saying, wow, watch out for Alex de Minaur. That kid, he has a chance to be a threat at not only the clay court season, potentially even in the French Open. I walked away saying, on a given day, he can be beaten by a journeyman. On his best day, he's not able to go through a top player. And on his above average day, it's a toss-up. And that's a very discomforting feeling for a guy who, Alvin, he had a chance to get to the semis of Australia. Let's be honest. I mean, he was right there. Home crowd behind him. That's not a small feat.
Well, let's go back a second though, because I want to kind of put us in place here. It's we just finished up Monte Carlo, men's only Masters 1000.
Yep.
We were kind of talking about this, Monte Carlo Country Club, just nestled
Beautiful.
On the French Riviera, on the coast there in Monaco. It's gorgeous. I mean, I've always been just like visually attracted to watching the Monte Carlo event on television because obviously I've never been there. but I think it kind of hit me this morning actually while watching the final. It's the contrast of the red clay and the blue sea.
And the water.
Like that is very, very unique. Like there are lots of tournaments that like will release this kind of visceral reaction of, what is it that's unique about either it's being there, but for most of us, it's watching a tournament on television. Australian Open for me is I'm watching hard court summer tennis when it's dark,
when it's winter where you are,
when it's dark outside where I am, and it's that's the thing, and French Open, more or less
almost the reverse, right?
You're right. Well, the French Open more or less looks just like all the other clay court events on court, but you have Monte Carlo is different because you see the water, and that's very unique. And I have a affinity for that tournament. I got goals. We've got goals. I just want to be there.
Man.
It's a lovely event. So I say that to say we've officially entered the clay court season, right? There's a couple of U.S. events the prior week. Women were in Charleston, men were in Houston, and then you come over to Europe, and now we're getting in the dirt for real. So we get to you. I think I cut you off about your point about Alex de Minaur. My view is that he is who he is, and he's ranked 8-ish in the world, so that's about quarterfinals when everyone's healthy and involved, and you think he beats Lorenzo Musetti.
You'd like to think. Here's how I always like to look at it.
On clay?
Right or wrong. That doesn't matter. Because he is good enough of a player to not have a hole in his game on the clay. Let me ask you this, Al. If we were talking about Australia, would you give the advantage to de Minaur?
Sure.
Yeah. Would you give us a straight set victory to de Minaur? Because I would.
Probably. It wouldn't be more than 4, but yeah, probably. I don't see any.
I would say
Musetti gets in trouble when he gets rushed. So yeah.
I would say straight sets going away.
Okay.
A 3-2-1, right?
Ooh, okay.
A 4-3-2. You get my point. It would be I got to play in the catch. I'm out of here.
Right. I leave the in case like it's the quarterfinals or something, and maybe Musetti, he's obviously done something to get there, so maybe I'll give him 1. But first 2 rounds, yeah, one-way traffic for sure.
Now, on the clay, is Lorenzo Musetti that much of a clay court baller that you say to yourself, wow, on the clay, this guy's a different player?
That's an interesting question.
Your pause answers my question. I want you to finish.
Yeah. Okay. So he comes on the scene right in Rome, maybe like 4 years ago. Musetti, like everyone is praising like, oh, this Italian kid with this backhand, this beautiful one-handed backhand. And I know we're gonna talk about that. It looks good. It looks good. No championships are built on backhands, but I really think so. I think he makes up the majority of his points on clay for sure. But then he did he semifinal? He semifinaled Wimbledon last year. I don't know what that is. He gets dinged up on hard courts pretty good. So I don't, he's crafty-ish. He can't really go through you. I don't know what.
Hey, Alvin, keep fishing for ways to explain Lorenzo Musetti. Hey,
I can't explain him. That's the thing. I can't explain him. I've seen him play in person, and I still can't tell you he's a shot maker. But like, you can't really make ish. He's ish.
He's ish. His whole game is ish. Alvin,
it's ish.
Alvin, I'm going to call it like it is. I could be wrong. I could be right. I'm just calling it like it is. I'm a tennis fan. I'm a tennis coach. I know the game. I know what I see. I would never take anything away from these players. These guys are all phenomenal. I've said that multiple times.
It goes without saying. Sure.
So we're comparing them to the other greats of the game. We're not comparing them to me. We're not comparing them to you. We're comparing them to them. All right?
Okay.
There's a certain expectation if you get that good in the game that you have the level of game to bespeak to your ranking / level or result. Or it was a bit lucky. You had a good draw. And you know what? Hats off to you, bro. The history will remember you as your best result. Good for you, right? A la the Shane Shawkins of the world from way back in the day. A la the main man. Who was the guy that took Safin. I want to say it was in the clay. Swedish kid. I just forgot his name. Down 2 sets to love. End up coming back. Bjorn. What was his name?
Borkman.
Bjorn Borkman. No, not Bjorkman. Bjorkman was the phenomenal doubles player. This kid was a shorter, crafty Swedish kid. Started serving and volleying. He was doing so poorly against Marat. He was, and I want to come back to Marat Safin, by the way.
I got time for Marat right now.
Let's just make sure we save a little bit of time for Marat, one of my all-time favorite players. Johannes, give me a second. It'll come to me. I'll come back to it. I'll look it up.
Was it Johannes Borkman? Was it Johannes Borkman?
Yeah, but Jonas Bjorkman is who I think you're thinking of is a doubles player. Anyway, this guy here is it was either it'll come out. I'm gonna look him up. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was when this kid was playing. Bottom line, he was there. He was kind of the Mikey Russell of the Swedish contingency. Not as clearly not the Mats Wilander and Edberg and level, but good kid. Found himself
Ingoldsson. Is it Ingoldsson? No, he's younger.
It was something. It was either Johansson. Johansson sounds familiar, but I gotta. I'll
someone in the comments will let us know. We'll leave it to the people.
So, my point being, these are guys that overachieved, went a little bit past where they thought, and literally stunned the crowd, as the expression is, with what he did. Right? I think the Musetti camp would like to think that he's not a stun the crowd kind of player. He's not a Jürgen Meltzer, which I think was a great player. He's not a catching off. He's a player who thinks he's top 20, top 10, top 5 potentially material. So as such, I have to put him in that realm. And you're talking about semis of Wemby? Bro.
He did it. I mean, yeah.
You've got to now be top 20 in the world. Now
yeah, my hesitation was like, what do you think he is versus what he thinks he is?
Now we're talking. We're taking nothing away from his final, by the way. He reached the final. Let me say that. Of Monte Carlo of a 1,000. So clearly
grinded all the way there.
Grinded the whole time. I mean, remember
three setter after three setter after three setter.
Grinded. I mean,
that's Ferrero. That's Ferrero in the clips right there. Yeah,
100% Jazzy Faye was in there. He was grinding from day right when he showed up. Now, I want to say this. I felt Alex de Minaur lost the match more than Musetti won.
Fair.
Now, I think that's more than fair, and I'm trying to be very honest and very clear with both people. Alex de Minaur had an opportunity, in my opinion, to notch his belt to get to a final himself at the ATP 1000 on clay and really set a standard that, hey, I can play on clay as well. Alex de Minaur did not knock down the door of that opportunity. I felt like he tried to attack the backhand, so much so that he brought the backhand online. And this is something that I think a lot of players do in singles for junior tennis, perhaps in occasionally in singles and ladies Alta and men's Alta and even T2 that I watch at my club. The strategy seems pretty clear at the beginning. Oh, the guy's got a weak backhand. After 100 backhands, the guy's backhand, you've kind of resurrected the guy's backhand because you hit so many that the guy's backhand's actually getting better now.
So we're taking an impromptu trip to Coach's Corner 100%. Here. Okay, so this is the how to break down a weakness segment, right? So
100%. Let me just jump right in.
Yeah, go for it.
Number one, the weakness is there. Okay,
right?
It's clear he's missed 3 or 4 balls in the warm up, or she in the warm up. You now know you have clearly it's a deficiency on that side. Okay.
Yep.
Your tendency is to go there so often that you will get a cheap point, free point, and so on. But the problem is you have to go there and put it under stress. If I go there so often it's not under stress, the person may actually find their timing. So how do you do that? Well, I'll tell you very simple. Let's assume it's the backhand. I'm going to serve to it for sure. Because that's a stressful situation. The guy may or may not find his timing on that ball. Mm-hmm. After that, I may first strike to it. Okay, first strike's another shot. He may have to slice again, block again, or something, which again is going to give me the opportunity. But after ball 3, my ball 3, it becomes a little more even. We're now seesawing. We're not in tug of warring. We're not in the imbalance is not in our favor.
Sure.
You might have to, in fact, run the ball to the guy's forehand to open up the backhand. And if you go to the backhand some more, you might just give the guy time to find his footing, find his time, and really connect on one or two, in which case, with each successive shot, he or she gets better. And shame on you for going to it too early and too often. So number 2, you have to now find a way to attack to it. Forehand to forehand cross, approach down the line on any given opportunity. Forehand to forehand, drop shot to it. Okay? Bring the person in, rip a ball to it. These are all stressful opportunities that the backhand may not be what it is, and shots that he or she is not looking for. And here's number 3. You have to do it at great moments when there's more stress involved. Go there at 30-15. Serve and volley to it at 40-30. Yeah. Go there at points where the stress is higher, when he or she is more likely to be a little more on that shot. If you go there at 15-0 and there's no pressure, he might be as good as anybody else on a given day on the side. Yeah. He's just weaker, and he gets confidence from it because the score is not in. He's not in a deficit. So, in quick review, don't overdo it. Attack it more than go to it often, and attack it at key times. Run the forehand to go back to the backhand. Attack to it on approach versus off the ground stroke. Bring him in. You attack that ball yourself, even off returns. And at key times in the score, attack that weakness early, but don't do it so often that he knows it's coming. And don't do it 30 shots out of 35 and bring that shot online, or you've wasted the opportunity to expose the weakness.
That's well put. I appreciate you breaking that down. I'm going to add one thing, and then maybe even give a couple of examples. It's not only like it's sometimes it's not as simple as like, oh, hit it to their backhand. The backhand's weaker. It's like, okay, there are different types of backhands to be hit, right?
Yep.
When you, especially if you get past the, let's say a beginner level, let's go intermediate, maybe advanced level, right? Everyone's going to have a weaker wing, but it sometimes comes down to like, okay, maybe the backhand, they don't hit it. They don't step up and rip it very well, right? So you can
they won't hurt you with it,
right? You can check there if you get, but they're going to miss it, but they're not going to hurt you there, right? Or if you want to go hard into the backhand, they can handle pace really well, but what they don't like to do is back up or hit it higher, right? So there's levels to this, and then also timing is a big one. And here's my 2 examples. When I more so in my more competitive days, but even so now as a lefty, if you can't handle the lefty slice out wide, I'm going to hold it for very opportune times. I don't have to hit it out there all the time, right? I'm going to wait because it gets better when you're not looking for it.
Thank you.
Right. So at 30-15, yeah, I'm probably going to go T.
Yep.
Because if I have to come back again at 30-40 or 40-30,
right,
that's when you're getting that sliced cheese out.
You want it protected.
Oh,
and unadulterated, so to speak.
Yes, I want you to struggle with it.
Time, but I have to find the goods on that shot.
I want you to struggle with it, and I want you to be surprised by it. So that's my personal example. An example that I saw in Monte Carlo that it comes up often. Matteo Berrettini. Yeah. People will go to his backhand all day. He does. Yeah, he just open stance, like he using those little legs to just kind of like get that thing back, and then also his slice backhand's pretty good too. So it's like it's not really, he's not going to hurt you there, but at some point if you hit one over there that's maybe not getting all the way to the D side of the court there, he's going to hit that forehand and he's going to rip it. He's going to get around it,
and he has the slice to be able to redirect you down the line to bring you back to the old forehand. And he's like, as we were saying,
yeah,
let's get back to that, what I was talking about.
Exactly. So yeah, there's ways to it. It's not as straightforward. It's you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
No doubt. Here is my problem with Alex de Minaur. He went there so much by default that by the end of that match, and mind you, it was a long match. I want to say it was the finish in
3 hours. Quick
3 hours. I want to say it finished up with the third set breaker. He was So no fault on Minaur for effort and for thought and for execution for that matter. He pushed it deep. I think the second set was not. I think it was up 2-0 to start. Then it got 2-all. Then 3-3, 4-4. Alex got 6-all. The issue I had was by the time it got down to actual crunch time, you know what I saw, Alvin? I saw Lorenzo hitting heavy one-handers to Alex's hitch kick backhand. And I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, how was the one-y going heavy on the two-hander?
Right.
That should be the two-handers trick. So that just showed you he actually played the backhand so much that he gave Lorenzo the ability to bring that backhand online. And Lorenzo knew, if I have time to get this ball up and get it deep, you can't hurt me yourself. And I felt like the only shot that Alex went for was the inside-out slapper and the occasional forehand wide hook angle. He did not go for anything else. And when you also note that, the player, in this case Lorenzo, knew he wasn't going to hurt him with anything else. And that was also one of the faults I felt with his game. He didn't come in as much. I think Alex has very underrated volleys in the transition game. He has a decent drop shot, good feel.
Great hands.
He did not do any of that when it was deep in the point. Kind of kept going conservative, thinking that Lorenzo would miss. Unfortunately, Lorenzo said, hey, man, you've hit so many balls. Thank you. That was the best lesson I needed on my backhand. You brought my backhand back online by hitting me 1,000 of them. And you know what? Feeling pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
And to his credit, his backhand got stronger as the match progressed.
And with somebody like Alex Minaur, right, he's obviously very fast, and that's a very good skill to have. He uses it as a weapon to a certain extent, and then his depth around the net is very well pronounced, but it's not like something he builds his game around. He's not necessarily constructing points to get in and then close them off.
Serve isn't as big, forehand isn't as big. He's still a counterpuncher at his heart.
Absolutely.
He's still not, and that's no fault. That's what he is. That's
so you could even say he's take the speed out of it and maybe sub Alex Minaur's speed for maybe Alex Zverev's serve. Like, let those two things neutral themselves out. You're looking at very, very similar players here. In that, like, I'm gonna kind of go over to Zverev here, like that when that match against Berrettini in the second round gets to a stalemate, it's like, man, he has nothing he can really go to here. Like, if the game is strong from the baseline, very consistent, waits you out, it's like we're playing in quicksand here. Like, there's nothing to do against a guy who's just as physically as strong as you are. We're just gonna have to figure it out, see where this thing goes, and it's not going well right now for Mr. Zverev. And I think he's like 6-6 since finaling Australian Open. I will say, and the one notable thing, maybe 2 or 3 notable things. Zverev is about 6'6". He's got a monster. And I would like, and I know you're saying take out the serve, which is of course a huge thing for men's tennis. I would like to also add, I think it's a unwillingness to take the strike versus I don't have one when you're looking at Sasha versus Alex. Now, that's not to say that Alex is anything less of a player. I think Alex is maximizing his package extremely well. I don't feel like it's the same for Sasha. You feel like he can do it. He's just not doing it.
Thank you. I think he's not taking the darn shot. As big as that serve is, he's rolling balls, getting into a rhythm. Rafael Nadal, Alvin, for all intents and purposes, had a very average serve. I think we would all agree with that.
Average to over time.
I would
average
say,
to above average, but
for a Grand Slam champion, I would say certainly average for a one of the best of all times. Now, so that you and I, we know this. Most at home may not know this. Rafa is a right-handed player who learned to play left-handed. So people need to understand, it was never his best throwing arm. Okay? Number one. Hence why the serve speed was never as high as it could have been. With that said, ball 1 through 5, he wanted to get into the rally. Ball 5 through 8, he starts picking up racket speed, starts picking up acceleration and heaviness on his ball. Ball 8 through 15, Rafa gets better. hits faster, hits heavier, starts to accelerate to such an extent that you're playing his tennis now.
Yep.
On clay. No one wants to face a guy once they feel like they're back in the point and they're starting to exhale. I'm in it. And now the guy's starting to yank you from corner to corner, going behind you, hitting the ball heavier, hitting the ball harder, running around, never pulling the trigger like you hope he does so you can counter. He's going to say, no, not yet. I'm going to yank you a few more times and go bigger each successive time I do this. Now, what am I getting at? Rafa had a strategy that the longer these points go, it's so many body blows, you will not be able to hang with me as the point goes. You're almost going to be forced to go for something on your return, on my serve, and actually allow my counter-punishing skills to come to the fray. And if you don't punish me on my second, you know what? Ball 15 later, I'm killing you. And don't let me get my inside in going on you on ball 15. You know it, and I know it, you're done. Now what? Here we have now Sasha Zverev on the complete other side of the spectrum. I've got a huge serve. I'm punishing you, lucky to get the ball back, and I'm rolling you to the corner. But if you get that ball back, I'll roll one more back to the corner. And if you get me to ball 8, I am as mortal as anybody, especially on the clay. And that's what we saw this tournament.
Yeah, I want to go back like to your point about Rafael Nadal, and this just kind of hit me as I was watching Carlitos kind of make his way through some tricky matches, some dips in play.
You're going to the Spieth match, aren't you?
Yes. Well, second set against Spieth, and then also a little bit of third set as well, and then also the final against Musetti in the second set, where Carlos
first set. I thought he had his hands full.
Well, okay, so you're talking about the first set of the final,
right?
Yeah. Well, sure. He came out guns blazing in the first set, like the first 2 games, and just could not.
Good tennis those first 2 games.
He could not find like when he got the break early, got the first break of the match, and then was trying to serve to consolidate the break. Just forehands going everywhere like lasers, like he's got like he's just juiced up to not juiced up in a Seren type of way, but he's just like way too jacked, right? Like coming out the starting line with like too much fuel that needs to be burned off. Yeah, exactly. And so once he kind of like found himself, or maybe just made the decision in the second set to, I need to start over and build again. You start to see him going heavy, doing the things that we talked about, just a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so, where we talked about his natural ball can hurt people.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the winner.
Through the meat of the court.
Right down the middle of the court. Yeah, just go heavy, because that's what it kind of reminded me when you're talking about Nadal. He is begrudgingly doing Nadal things when things aren't going well. He's like, fine, I'll do it. And it's just heavy. And the next thing you know, he's got that big forehand in the middle of the court. And that's the one I'm taking inside the court, as opposed to from behind the baseline where he wants to hit it from.
Right. I will see you one and raise you another. 90% of the world goes cross court, right?
Sure.
We're trained to do it. We're told to do it.
It's the biggest space. The big angle.
Space, lowest net, most margin of error.
All the good stuff.
Know why, right?
All the good stuff's there.
So what does Carlos do better than most? He goes down the line.
Yeah.
Off of your good cross court. We're all told not to bail out and go drop shot. But his ball's so big and occasionally heavy and occasionally big. Either way, you need more time. You back up naturally. He backs up, mind you, a lot to get time at this ball. What does he do? He has, I call him the king of the drop shot. And it's so good and so disguised, and it's so big, you really don't know which one's coming, right? I think we both agree with that.
Yeah.
Carlos Alcaraz does the anti almost to a fault. And I think we've seen that. I want to talk about Carlos' personal and his mental and dealing with being a good player. That we'll save that for the end. That's more of him coming of age as a player at a young age, trying to understand who he is and kind of following in this age of instant gratification, social media, and everything else. He's following who he is in real time, and that's tough to do. But that's another.
That's got to be wild.
It's got to be crazy to see you already in the conversation at a young age, being in that level, being in the conversation of what the top 3 that ever played the game. and being coached by one of the game's greats and Juan Carlos, and you're already kind of feeling like I'm kind of halfway there. Juan Carlos didn't win any Grand Slams, and he's won 4 already. So that's got to be a little bit weird.
Juan Carlos won one. He won one.
Juan Carlos won a bunch of months 1000s. Tell me which one he won. Did he?
Is he the number one who never won a
He's
slam?
The one,
or this?
He and Korea were the number ones that never won. They won several 1000s, by the way. I don't think Juan Carlos won one. You correct me if I'm wrong. And if he has, my point remains, his protege has won 4. So let's just I want to keep the emphasis here on he's outdone his coach, and that's first of all rare. Put a pin in it. Come back to Marat, Safin, and Rublev. We'll come back to that in a second. Here's the point I'm making. And first of all, Juan Carlos was one of my all-time favorite players. Love the guy from back in the day. I think he still has a winning record from the juniors back on one. Roger Federer from back in the day. The guy is just good. He was a class act. One of my favorite memories with the time I went to Australia, I walked, Sko and I were going to the practice courts. He has 2 players playing against him, doing 2-on-1s.
Yep.
We come back an hour later, Alvin, and there's 2 more guys warming up against my main man, JC. And we're like, what are these guys doing? Oh, we're next. Stretch it out. Ready to go.
Fresh blood.
Fresh blood. Fresh 2 players. And Juan Carlos is just hitting stride. Now, that lets you know right now. And this is an off day. The final is the next day. He's going to go against Safin, by the way. Phenomenal match. I think it was 0-4. I'm watching. I'm like, God, this guy is a machine. Anyway, so make no mistake. None of this is a slide against Juan Carlos Ferrero. I think it was a great player. Now,
I'll just pause to put the respect on his name.
Oh my God!
2003 French Open champion Juan Carlos Ferrero.
Boom.
Beat for Tech, I think it was in the final. It was a little weird. Yeah.
And of course it'd be the French. Of all
weird days before Nadal showed up.
Oh my
Very
God!
Weird days.
And like Roddick with the Open, right? With the U.S. Open before Fed showed up, right?
Weird days.
And that makes sense that it happened. So apologies on my main man JC.
We got to put it out there.
We got to put it out there.
Yep.
Now, with that said, his protege's won 4. Now here I am. He is the antithesis, if you will, of what most do. Right. In that first set, he is so good at hitting, and this is a strange term, Alvin, the outside of a down-the-line ball, because he hits it from outside the alley and hooks it back inside the court.
Yeah, skinny cross. They call it the little skinny cross there.
The skinny cross. He hits it on both sides extremely well. Now, he got to feeling himself. I think he's done this a lot of times before in some of his early losses. He got to feeling himself early, thinks he has that ball, but unfortunately, he has not hit enough shots when he's trying that ball early. And he needs to be able to know when he has it, when he doesn't. Quick segue, I'm going to call it pause and go and to another sport, which I often do because I think the sports at a high level all transcend and go into one major. We're just playing ball. Kenny Smith, former national champion in North Carolina and with Houston Rockets a few times, was one of the best shooting guards in the game during that time. Kenny Smith made a comment one night on TNT that for the first 5 shots, he said, I am like anybody else on the schoolyard. Average at best. But for Kenny, you can appreciate that's a pretty honest comment and a humble comment, which he's not as humble as most. He says, but let me get shots 5, 6, and 7. He says, once I hit it, once I get the feel, I will destroy you.
Fair.
He says, I will not miss that next jumper. 5 through 10, I will bury you. What was Kenny saying? He knows he has to take 1 through 5 to get online.
Yep.
But he knows 1 through 5 are going to be hit or miss. Some nights on, some nights off. I know. I see you, but I see your wheels turning. 5 through 10, Kenny's going to be 30 points a game if he only plays 3 quarters. Right. Shots 11 through 20, and he's having a good night. Kenny might just score. He might just score 20 points off threes alone. And
Kenny Smith
and so on and so on. And we're talking about the great shooters and the great shooting guards of all time. The point I'm making is, once they get online, over.
And that's okay too. Like just to kind of bring it back to tennis, right? Some players are just better than other players, right? Kenny Smith
at that
is
specific
just
skill.
Kenny Smith is a better shooting guard out of UNC than Joseph Forte is, right? So
100%.
Cobb County's finest, Joseph Forte. And sometimes you're playing against someone on the tennis court who is just better than you, but they have to prove it.
They have to prove it.
If Kenny Smith only gets 4 shots, you're not going to be able to tell how good Kenny Smith is.
Or if you can move him off his mark, or you can get him going to his left, or you can get him shooting, where he's not off a pick. There's ways to put a Kenny Smith under duress.
Right.
I'm going to Carlos, and before you finish the thought, Carlos is thinking, I am 3 for 3 from the 3-point land in the first 2 games, and I've only hit 2 ground strokes. That's what I saw in that first set. I did not see a player who Nadal-esque, discipline-esque, let me get to shots 5 through 10, Kenny Smith, and get my shot where I know it's money. That's where I'm going with this.
I'll finish the last one. We often talk about, and this is a Craig O'Shaughnessy Sharko tennis like special. Like most points are lost within the first 4 shots, right? If you are playing against a player who is better than you, make them prove it. Get to ball 4. Make the serve. Make the first ball.
I would even say 5. Get to ball 5.
Make the return. Make the next ball. Like just make them show you that they're better than you, as opposed to just giving it to them. And the funny thing you mentioned just now about the difference between Carlos and Rafael, which ever since Carlos hit the scene, he's always been saying, I'm more like I kind of pattern my game more like Roger than I do like Rafa, even though we're both Spanish and play Babolat rackets.
Quarters, yeah.
I think the difference, what weird difference that just kind of hit me is like Rafael played the way he thought about the other players. He actually had a healthy respect and fear for all of them. Okay. So he's going to attack every match with the same diligence and ferocity. I'm just starting to think that Carlos doesn't care about any of these dudes. He's like, outside of like, I just think
I don't disagree with that. But I don't think he's had time to think about it. I want to come back to that thought. Finish your point.
Yeah, the way he sprays in a first set, and like to your point of just like I'm just gonna start dunking on everybody from coin toss, and then if it doesn't go well, like, all right, fine, I'll check down, I'll play not high heavy, I'll just play heavy, and then we'll start this thing all over again in the second set. He's just like, because I can, and you're not gonna do anything about it. That's what I feel like it comes down to. Like if he's playing Sinner, no. If he's playing Novak, no. But the Feast match, I don't think he ever felt like he was going to lose that match. The same thing with the Musetti match.
So I think that it was
it was very back in the second set.
Arthur didn't put his foot on his neck like Minaur didn't put his foot on the neck of Lorenzo. And here's where I'll agree to disagree. You're still talking about, what is he, Alvin? Is he 21, 22 years old? I mean, I don't think
22.
I don't think his career peripheral vision is even in tune yet. And here's why I agree with what you're saying on an external, but I disagree with the intent from the inside. He hasn't had the time to think. He doesn't think that much. If he did, he wouldn't go for those kind of dumb shots down the line. But that's what makes him great.
Do you think he thinks?
I don't think he thinks.
Does he think?
Right. He reacts. He's instinctive, almost to a fault. And I think what actually hurt him, and this is what I was going to come back to about him, the person, he started thinking. He started looking at his stats. He started looking at the press. He started looking at the social media. Started looking at the rankings and the matchups. And here, for once in his life, he's never really looked at it. But now he's looking at it. And he's looking at, oh, man, I should beat this player. Oh, man, I can't believe I lost to that player. Oh, man, what does the press say about my game? He's never thought about that. And to me, I think he's better off if he doesn't. I saw a good article about him saying he just wants to play tennis. He wants to leave all that stuff alone. He wants to just play. He enjoys the game. While he still wants to be in the conversation and be at a table with the big three one day, he's appreciating where he's at. When he was number one in the world, he loved it. He's now number 3. I still love it. He says, I think that's the thing for me. I need to just keep loving it and loving the play. And I said, that's very simple Simon language for I need to be me. I don't need to worry about what y'all think of me. I don't need to worry about where my game is at, where it's not. That's not who I am. My game is being in the moment. My game is loving the competition. And my game is just being who I am, when I need to be. I'll figure it out. I'll make some mistakes.
Yeah.
But I need to be me and just play. And I think that's what I saw in this tournament. And it kind of got back to his classic smile, his love of the competition. I was really impressed how he outlasted Feast a little bit. And I think deep down kind of knew Feast had it. And I hope the Feast camp really takes some notes on Feast's upside. I've been a big fan of him. We both have. I think we
he's
both
playing
saw
some good
how
ball right now.
Played some great ball. And he hasn't had a bad 2025. But that match showed me he is capable of being a top 5 player very soon. But and on clay.
Whoa. Top 5?
Top 5, Alvin. You heard it right here. Top 5. Here's why.
Huh.
A lot of his issues are self-induced. So what if you turn, unlike certain players in that top 5 that need a loss, need a matchup, need a surface, Alvin, I thought the kid was good on hard court. Kid's pretty good on clay.
Yeah.
We're going into the part of the season where, you heard it right here, Carlos played a pretty good tournament. And he was, in my opinion, for 1 7/8 of a match, was pretty good with beating one of the top in the world at his own game. Drop shots, check. Forehand on the line, check. Serve, check, which has been a big issue for him in times past. His only weakness was he got to the moment where he was ready to put his foot down and he stubbed his toe and he just didn't finish the deal.
But
late.
That's something that is kind of like in his makeup right now. He's done that a few other times. I would say
he
did something similar
at this point. If he does this at 27, he's done. If he does it at 20, is he 23? I think he's 23.
I think he's
22,
23, maybe 22. Right? Yeah.
I think when he played, didn't he lose to Mensik in Miami? Wasn't that a match that
he did? He lost it. He had a high backhand volley to match point.
And I remember that match. I remember looking at the stats. They're all about a year apart. Right? So I said to say if Mensik is 21, he's 22, or whatever the age was, they're about a year apart. I said to say, Feast showed me in that match that if it had been anybody else, they'd be like, he should have won the match. He had a chance up against Carlos. Carlos had not smiled. Carlos wasn't doing his normal, vamos. He wasn't giving any of his fist pumps. Carlos knew that he was in for a match and could be beaten if Arthur had simply finished. I think that's a great match for Arthur to build on. I also feel like that was a match for Carlos to really expound on, to say, you know what? I can let you lose.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway there.
There's another quick trip to Coach's Corner. You don't always have to beat a player. You can allow them to lose. You can allow them to hit themselves out. You can allow them to let the moment kind of defeat them a little bit. And honestly, I felt like that's maturity when you let that happen. There's a fine line, but you're always going to gain more points through their errors than you are going to through your own winners for 99% of your tennis. And so I think that was a great example of him to say, hey, I'm just going to make balls. And if he can beat me, he can beat me. But if not,
and that's what happened. I think in the second set against Carlos, Arthur was serving 6-5, maybe 40 love. Out of the next 9 points, he lost 8 of them, and of those 8, 7 were unforced errors.
Right.
I'm just watching it. I'm like, oh, and Carlos is just like, if you're gonna give it right back to me, then you can give it right back to me. That's fine. And they go into the tiebreaker, and it continues on. But I think that's a big one for Carlos, where he doesn't necessarily go out and take a match. He can get through a tough one on a bad day.
I thought he was vulnerable the whole tournament, as far as I watched. And I didn't watch everything, but from all the matches that I saw, that was the one match he was vulnerable. Even when he lost the set against Lorenzo, I didn't think it was vulnerable. I thought he just came out a little hot, a little bit early, a little bit, you say, amped up, a little juiced up.
Yeah.
He was going for shots too early. She didn't need to go for. He was trying to show Lorenzo, I got this. And then and end up, going down quite a bit. And I think in the 6-1, 6-0 fashion, I don't want to talk about that in that third set, which was, I feel bad for Lorenzo. He was really hurt. Ab pull, groin pull, something happened. You could tell he was not himself. And that's off him for trying to finish, right? He was really trying to finish that match to give the fans a finish, not a withdrawal and an injury. But you could tell by about 2-0, 3-0, he was done, But I said to say, but the 6-0 spanking was, the 6-1 spanking the second
That
was
legit.
all day. That was real.
That was legit. Yeah.
That was legit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, even in the first round, and I almost mentioned this when the draw came out, Cerundolo as a first round match is, I was like, we were talking about Carlos a little bit, like, oh, I want to see something from him, and he loses the first set 6-3, one break serve, and then destroys Cerundolo, who is a proper Argentinian clay court player.
Right.
Can also play well on hard.
Altmaier was also another match that I thought he fairly.
Yeah. I mean, once he got through Cerundolo, and he was in full flight Carlos, the Vamos and fist pump and everything, and it's like, okay, this is gonna be a good week for him. And then when you see Novak and Zverev kind of fall by the wayside, it's like, okay, he should roll through the rest of this tournament. And
he did, and he was the better for it, but he did so in a fashion, Alvin, that I felt showed that he's back in good form. He played the level of tennis that he needed to, especially with the center being out. But he did it in a way where he was hitting through the court, hitting his drop shots. I want to give a shout out to my main man, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who came out and I thought played a very solid match against Carlos. Big forehands, big backhands coming forward. He tried to out Carlos. I mean, came forward, dropped volleys, big forehands, inside out dropper. I mean, taking the backhand early. I mean, I was very impressed. It was probably the most complete match I've seen from Alejandro since I've been watching him on the clay. And I think he's a little more of while he can slide, he's a Spaniard. I thought he played he strikes me as more of a hard courter who can hit.
So right? To your point, he finaled Del Rey and then Acapulco back to back. So like he is a new school Spanish tennis player who's has
on
the hard court
more
chops.
On the hard court than he is on the other. And people don't realize this, Alvin. Nadal spent 8, almost 9 years not getting into the second week of the U.S. Open.
Right, yeah.
I want to say, I'm pretty sure it was 7, 8 years not getting into the second week. Not at all. Like, not one time. While he had won multiple French Opens. So it wasn't like he wasn't adept on the clay. I think his first French he won. I don't think he lost one except 1 year he missed with injury. And then that 1 year Soderling took him out. So my point is, this is during his reign. This is not the beginning. This is not the end. He was already a Grand Slam champion and could not get out of the second week of the Open.
Yeah.
Now, and I give a lot of credit. So back to my boy Davidovich Fokina, I thought Alejandro played great. I thought if anything, the only thing he just ran out of a little bit of execution. I felt like even that match, I know the scores may have been not as close, but I felt that was actually a bit more of the final. I hate to say it in that sense of the given players who were left, because the match had a lot more tug of war, had a lot more, I'm going to say, cardiac arrest for both coaches' camps. And the tennis was high quality, man. And that was a very.
It's a funny thing between Davidovich Fokina and Alcaraz. So Carlos's older brother is the same age as Alejandro, right? So they grew up playing together. And Alejandro and Carlos are friends, right? I think one of the commentators mentioned that like he went to Alejandro's wedding just a couple months back. So it kind of struck me, and I was telling my wife about this morning when I was watching the match. It's like, you start thinking about these guys. You see these people on TV and they're professionals, right? They're professionals, but really it's just kind of like junior tennis. It's just up there, and that like it's better, but like, but use junior tennis as an example in that like the guys you play in 12s are also the guys you play in 18s. You just play them. You play the same people kind of all the time.
And the same guys you play in college. There may be your roommates in college. There may be your competition. It's all. But you know well.
Yeah, the people in your kind of like your age range, or like the people you end up playing tennis with for, I play tennis now with the guys I played tennis with when I was 12. Sure. So I say that to say, like, when Carlos goes into a match like that against Alejandro, it's like, yeah, I know I'm not going to lose this match. Like, and he knows I'm not going to lose this match. We're going to have fun. It's going to be like, not like they're taking it less serious. It's going to be a good match because they can both bring out good looking tennis from each other, but I don't think that Carlos feels threatened by Alejandro.
I would agree with you, but I would also tell you that's what made the upstarts from Alejandro all the more interesting.
Fair.
He went down 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, brought it back 4-3, 0-2, brought it back 2-0. He had more comebacks and more, and I love it when the underdog player starts hyping up the crowd like, oh, come on, give me something now. I'm busting my butt out here. I saw Davidovich Fokina go out pretty bad to Tommy Paul in the Australian this past year. And I felt like he was just tactically outmatched. He worked his point against him. Has a hard backhand, maybe a bit too hard sometimes. Didn't have a lot of variety on that backhand side, but can certainly crush it and gets his forehand, right, which is what he wants to do. And I thought Tommy Paul went through him like a buzzsaw. It was almost embarrassing how fast he went through him in that match. Could have been dinged up. Could have just been a bad matchup. Tommy could have started off great, and Alejandro never really caught up. In this match, I've seen he's a streaky player. I think we all get that.
Yep.
He can be very streaky. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes streak can help you or hurt you. He came back in multiple streaks too, and I felt like I want to say he got it back. Was the first set that went to a breaker? He got or a second. He got it back to a breaker. He just played enough. He got it back enough to say, I'm still in this. Don't count me out. And I love the fact that the underdog, in this case, Alejandro, never conceded the match. And I think every good player at the top of their game needs Davidovich Fokina match like that going into the match.
It's a nice sharpening match.
To sharpen you and make you believe, buddy, I had to work for that. You know what I mean? And I really feel like those are the kind of matches where you kind of need to go through that and really kind of earn your medal a little bit. And I thought that's what Alejandro did for Carlos in this match. It was certainly high quality tennis. And when you win a match like that, you feel like you've earned it. You feel like you've arrived. You don't feel like, the guy played terrible. I was able to the guy gives, you have two walkovers, guy's hurt. One guy's, not very good. You get through it, you're almost more tight. You know what I mean? You don't really feel like you've earned it. And I feel like that was a good match, good turn for Carlos. And honestly, it's great for the tour. He's back in good form. Next few tournaments, doesn't your boy come back? Doesn't Center come back here pretty soon?
So in the words of, as we kind of move forward, in the words of Rafael Nadal, what happened in Monte Carlo happened in Monte Carlo. What happened in Barcelona happened in Barcelona. We are moving forward. We still have two big ones before we get to Rome, and then Rome is right before the French Open. So we move to Barcelona. I think Barcelona starts probably tomorrow or something like that. Men go Barcelona and Munich. So 2 500s kind of split there, and then everyone comes back to Madrid, and then Rome. That's two 1000s back to back, and then French Open. This is my favorite. This is like my favorite part of the year. I love clay court tennis.
So no Madrid this year, or
no, it's the Madrid's after Barcelona.
Gotcha. That's right.
Yeah. And then the tours kind of get back together. So like I think the women are in Stuttgart this week, while the men are split 500s in Munich and Barcelona, and then everyone goes to Madrid, and then everyone goes to Rome, and then on to the Tiers Battu on Philippe Chatrier. Philippe Chatrier.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting in this year, and I think it's going to be a great. I would love to see Arthur Fils, the Frenchman that he is, be ready to go. Do
you think Arthur Fils is going to win a Grand Slam in his career? You said that top 5 thing you said earlier is just sticking with me, and I got a problem with it. And I'm a Fils fan, but top 5?
Top 5. I'm standing behind it. I'm standing behind it, Alvin. Top 5.
When? And who? Okay.
Alvin, let's just talk Turkey for a second. Novak's got 18 months at best, and he's going to be on the day. He's going to be pulled out, injured, dropping in with a wild card. I would even put it down to a year. I don't think he's true. I was as impressed with him as anybody with the Dimitrov match, and I've been as unimpressed as him since after that Dimitrov match in Miami. I just feel like Father Time is undefeated. Let's just put him off to the side. Okay, so walk through with me. Novak is out. Novak is day-to-day and needs help, health, and the perfect situation, which all three probably won't have.
by the time you're talking feast, top 5 is going to be Novak's going to be long retired by then.
I'm coming back. Number 2.
Yeah.
Sinner.
Yep.
And Alcaraz are the other 2. He just went 3 with one of the best players in the world on clay. We know he can play that well on hard court. Number 3. So stay with me.
Yeah,
Number 3. Your 4, 5, and 6 are vulnerable. Zverev can lose to anybody on a given day.
Yep.
Dimitrov is showing he's unfortunately also Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you get down into the 6, 7, 8, 9 from the Tiafos, Taylor Fritz's, you name it, all of the underlings, Minaur, all the players that I feel can be beaten on a given day. Is it really so out of context to say he can't beat 3 of the guys in the top, in the 4 through 10 range on a given day?
So what you're saying is different. Okay, so what you're saying right now is different than saying he's going to be top 5, because top 5 means that you have consistently put it together and you're reaching quarters or semis of slams in 1000s.
You struggled from Torrey Hawkins disease. That's how I always saw it. And that simply isn't so all the time. You're dealing with a 5 through 12 that are in a carousel turnstile of a revolving door, depending on where they are, who are not themselves getting 2 semis or better or quarters or better.
So you're saying, okay, so
I'm telling you, this year, he could be easily top 10, and next year, unless something drastic happens, he could do it this year, he could be top 5 because of the ones that are moving out and the new ones coming in. He's as vulnerable, he's as potent as anybody with his game.
Right.
And don't sleep on him.
I'll contradict myself.
Could be top 5.
Yeah. I'll contradict myself a little bit here, because now I'm coming over to your side on this one.
I just had to look at it differently, but
Stefanos Tsitsipas was 5 in the world for a while. Was 4 in the world.
Was 3 in the world at one point in time.
Yeah, so could Artur Fils crank out a Tsitsipas year? What does that take? That takes 1 slam final. It takes one slam final.
Or a couple of semis.
Yeah, and Tsitsipas did do that. He finaled French Open at least once. Yep. He finaled the Australian Open once, maybe twice. He's done that. So is Artur Fils going to get to a semifinal of a Grand Slam? That's what if the answer is yes,
100% possible.
I just don't trust him.
I
like him. I just
haven't done it yet. We all love him. You haven't done it yet. Here's what I don't trust. I don't trust Daniil Medvedev getting to another final.
I'm not even. He's not a part of this talk show.
I'm not trusting Zverev to be a threat to win one in the next 18 months. And I hate to say it, and I love Alex. I think he's a great player. I'm not.
What do you think he needs right now? What does he need right now? Is it a
new coach, some motivation, and new rack something? He needs a little bit of a new everything to say, and a schedule to say, this is the tournament we're going after. And we're going to go for this thing, and we're just going to make it happen. This is where your strengths are. This is Fed pulling in my main man. What was the
Ljubicic?
Ljubicic, thank you, Ivan.
Yeah.
This is Fed pulling in Ljubicic. Quit slicing the backhand return and come over the top of the darn thing, and let's start getting back to the big serve. And let's go to Wilson and get you a better racket. What that piece of pliable you're playing with, that as thin as it is. Quit trying to be Rafa. These guys are hitting lasers on you right now. You got to beef it up. This is where he needs. And I was impressed that Rublev did it. And to be honest, I think Daniil needs it more. He needs to get Kafelnikov in his camp, or somebody of that stature who knows what the heck he's doing, and bring it out and be all day Russian mafia. I'm hitting zingers from down the line like there's no tomorrow, getting in strong shape, Ivan Drago style. I'm going to do it. Let's go.
So I'm less concerned about Medvedev and that, I never, whatever, with Medvedev, whatever. He's older. He had a later trajectory in his career. Now we're in the way he plays. We're talking about now what we're starting to see, I think, is a accumulation of miles that are starting to just kind of add up. And then tennis is not going to let you slide without firepower these days, and that's what we're bumping into with him. So I'm going to put Medi to the side for a second. Zverev changed his racket setup a bit in the beginning of the year and said that his goal was, he did it because his goal was to win the French Open. It was all about the French Open. And then so same thing, reason why he didn't go UAE after Australia, he went down to the Golden Swing and just got routed down there. Like went down to clay to get his feet underneath it, or get it underneath his feet earlier in the year.
Yep, and was the seed, by the way.
Yeah, he's 2 in the world right now. Like, well, he until tomorrow, but he's doing all these things to prepare himself to do well in this time of the year,
and then do it.
And he's just it ain't happening. So it does feel like
it's a change of racket. It's early in the season, but you have to think that he's still a question mark to win a slam, let alone to get to get to the semis or final of a slam, let alone to win one. And that also is part of my whole math and my calculus on a feast, on a Mensick, on a
I'm there with you. I'm there. I'm there with now that I'm doing it. It's like, Casper Ruud made top 4 in the world off of being a one-trick pony.
Casper Ruud is as up and down as anybody. I mean, he's who else is up and down right now? It's Holger Rune. I mean, is as up and down as anybody on the clay. He's depending on the day. Minaur today showed me that or the other 2 days ago showed me that he's up and down on the day. We haven't heard from Tiafoe. We haven't heard from Ben Shelton. We haven't heard from Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz is still injured. We haven't heard. That's just 8, 9, 10 or 6, 7, 8, whatever the numbers that they were going after the French. So you got to look at all that and say,
yeah.
And now we're going to the French. You know what I mean? I mean, you heard it right here, Alvin. Gael Monfils might be playing his last French. This could be his swan song. I would give Gael Monfils a quarterfinal or better this tournament with everything going on that he's done this year. Then I would give it to Mpeshe Pericard. Then I would give it to any other Frenchie with the exception of Feast. And I think that's what I'm getting at. I believe, I recommend that Arthur Feast is ready to say, hey, what about me? Y'all been sleeping on me. Don't sleep. Hey, this could be his don't sleep tour in this next year to 18 months. And I think that this tournament, I was really impressed with how well he played. And should he follow that up on the clay? You heard it right here. Not bad. Now, your Drapers and your other... Draper is following a similar trajectory that Cam Norrie followed about 2 years, give or take 3 years ago.
Yep.
Played some great tennis, had a great Wemby, had a couple of hard court wins, did great. I don't expect Jack Draper to have that same level of success on the clay. I just don't.
Sure. Yeah.
Right,
I don't think
let's
so.
be honest. Right? Looking at what it is. I expect some big things from Yao Fonseca. I expect Cerundolo to have a couple of good wins. What's my main man from Spain? The big Minaur, not Minaur.
Jamie
Minaur. Jaime or whatever his name.
Jaime Minaur.
Jaime could have a decent French. There's some guys out there floating that have some big game that I'm like, you know what? This guy could do something.
Yeah, it's for me. It's a little
court season.
It's a little early. Like I like this is what I really like about this part of the year is because we have a very fixed thing at the end of at the culmination of these 5 events, right? And it's when we get to Rome. Right, I think because Rome is the one that looks and feels like Roland Garros. Right, Monte Carlo is a little too. It's too early. It's the first time on clay for a lot of these guys in a few months. Okay, fine. I can throw a lot of this out of the window. Right.
Yeah.
No big deal. We get a split field. We go to Munich and Barcelona. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And then Madrid is weird because of the altitude.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it's just but. We're getting our reps. They're all a little different. But when we get to Rome, that's the one where I go, okay, give me 2 rounds of Rome, and now I have a good feel of like what I'm going to be getting.
What the field's going to look like in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. So like I said, I love Monte Carlo, and I love what it is. I love what it represents.
Yeah.
It tells me where we are.
Yeah.
I love all things about it. But I think you got me on the feast thing. I'm there with you. I'm there. Let's before we put a pin in this, let's talk about Marat Safin. I saw.
My
Okay, so
main man.
Marat Safin. It's announced that he's coaching Andrei Rublev. Okay, cool.
Yep.
They pull up to the UTS event, which is. Did you see the any of that UTS event? They played it in the Coliseum. It was so dope. It was so dope, right? UTS is fine. It's fine. But it was so cool looking. But all of the video and footage coming out with Rublev and Safin looked like older brother just moved back from California. Like, what's up?
Dude,
what's up? I'm back.
His tats, his watch, his shades. I mean, and dude,
guy.
People forget Safin's 6'5", bro. Safin is
big
all
dude.
day 6'5". Rublev is maybe 6'1". Dude, he was literally right. Oh, and Rublev's not small, but you realize, yep, I'm back. And it was such a cool thing, not only to see him back on the court.
I love it.
And I have to say, of all the players that are coming back, it was great to see. For those of us who have loved Marat, that have loved his, I think Roddick made a comment about it. Not only about it was great to see him, but saying, I can hit winners from anywhere, off either side at any time. I'm a little bit crazy. You're a little bit crazy. You know what? This may not be a bad matchup. Because if anybody can understand crazy, it's Marat Safin. If anybody can understand, I once saw Marat Safin go to the sideline after he broke a racket, took the racket out of the plastic, broke another one just off principle, only to get the third one out, tap the strings like, okay, new game. And I was like, why did you break the brand new
record? He's kind of like he's built like Jakob Mensik, but so much cooler and crazy.
Cooler.
It is. I mean, I know the majority of the viewers who are younger than us do not know anything about Marat Safin and his. I highly encourage you
Google him
to get familiar. Marat Safin was cooler than a polar bear's toenails. Yeah, I have another.
Just hoping that Rublev has the goods to keep him out there and shows a little bit of some Russian mafia. I don't like using that term, and especially in the days of our current political crisis with them in Ukraine. I hope that Andre, shows a little bit of Russian gangster to say, you know what, you're right. I got to trust who I am. I'm crazy. I'm going to go for that ball. You don't think I will? Watch me. And let that be to his advantage. And I think that Safin to this day is one of the only players that I have seen have the stat sheet that had more winners than errors. You know what I mean? And 04, I want to say it was the 04, was it the semi or the final in Australia that year when I watched him when he played Agassi. It was one of the best, hard-hitting, cleanest. Alvin, I don't know if the stats will show it. There were, at the end of the match, 10 or 12 unforced errors. I want to say it was 4 sets. The winners were in the high 20s and low 30s for each player. It was just absolute high tempo shootout. It was shooter, serve, first, because both Agassi had great returns. Marat had a huge serve. And then Andre had an underrated serve, and Marat had phenomenal returns. People don't appreciate how good his backhand was. You've never seen so many clean backhand down the line winners in your life. Players like now, Bandon had a phenomenal backhand, but were a little weaker on the forehand side. Players like Pete had phenomenal running forehand, but backhand was a little bit anemic. Both players had huge shots on both sides. And so to see them playing each other, oh my God.
Yeah, Marat Safin's career could end up looking like Andre Agassi's career. Oh, I guess they're both a little bit out there. But the only thing that held him back was like he really wasn't that interested in being great. And then like at one time he decided he was going to do it because he thought he could, and then he did it. And then he was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Marat, I read an article on him. Marat always wanted to be a hockey player. And when you look at him and his whole style, he was always kind of thinking like tennis was a little bit his second choice and second fiddle to him in his career choice. He idolized those top Russian and old school Soviet hockey players that were tough, that were good. And tennis, let's face it, tennis never had that level of dude, you got to be good to join this club kind of a thing. And mind you, he was good. I think in a weird way, and I don't want to give Kyrgios too much credit, in a weird way, Kyrgios also kind of he wanted to play basketball more than he wanted to play tennis, and kind of was in that same kind of fold. But Marat Safin, to me, was not only one of the greats, he was one of the greats that begrudgingly became a champion.
Yeah.
And let's face it, how was it? 4 or 5 slams? Underachieved by choice, just because he was like, nah, it's not that important to me. I'm here to have a good time. And I think there's a part of him that we all can gravitate to, where I feel like Goran won, almost to get the monkey off his back, and finally was able to kind of chill and kind of contain his crazy. Safin just had to stay sane for about 2 weeks, and he could have beat Fed on his best day, could have beat Rafa on his best day, could have beat
That's the thing,
Pete,
yeah.
Andre, and they knew it. It wasn't like it wasn't like, yeah, I don't know, Marat, he's great. No. It's like, dude, I'm not gonna say anything about Marat Safin, because Marat on my best day could beat me 3-2 and not even break a sweat. So you know what? You always got. I remember Fed had a quote about, you always have to go into a match with Marat Safin worried, because if he decides, and he used the term, if he decides to play 100%, it's over.
Yeah,
at this point in time, I think Fed had 10 or 12 slams. When 10 or 12 slams defers to the opponent like that,
well, with all that firepower, he could bring it. He could bring it to Fed at a time when no one could really bring it to him. Like, Nadal gave him trouble on clay, and for specific reasons, and Djokovic made it hard for him. But Marat Safin could go through Roger Federer, and we're gonna put a bow on it right there. I'm gonna let people just sit with the idea that someone could go through Federer.
Knife through butter.
A bow on that particular topic. Here's a random thing that came up. I saw that Carlos Alcaraz summer camps are popping up in the United States.
Okay.
This is a new thing. It's starting to happen a lot now. First, Morgan Torgaloo comes to the United States, and he's setting up these satellite locations. Rafael Nadal Academy setting up satellite locations, not just the United States, but also all over Europe. Academies branching out and, doing that thing is not new, but player name backed academies doing it is new. I also saw that Nadal recently sold a big part of his academy, and all that it is. It's a resort plus a lot of things. What Carlos is pretty young, and he seems to be doing a lot of things that point towards get rich, die trying, right? He plays these exhibitions, big money, big high profile exhibitions. Like, he's like, I'll do it 2 days before a Grand Slam. I don't care. I'm gonna run this thing until the wheels fall off. And this seems like another, logical step in, basically, are Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz trying to fund Spanish tennis all by themselves, and then just kick Italy out as the throne of men's tennis. I know this is a little conspiracy theory from my end.
What you're saying. Ask what is your boiled down question? Because I see you asking 3 things at once, and I want to be clear so I can answer it. By the way, Thomas Johansson was the player's name. By the way,
okay.
Won French in 2002, and en route beat. It was either semi or final, but beat Safin in that tournament. Was one I was thinking of. I had to look him up real quick. But keep going.
Here's a boiled down question: when you see an academy pop up with a Rafa Nadal Academy, Carlos Alcaraz Academy, do you, as a practitioner, feel like this is quality training, or is this vacation? I sent my kid to this thing that has the name on it.
As a practitioner, as a competitor, and as a coach in this field, I feel it is a marketing opportunity for the entity. Mortagaloo, Nadal, all of them, because none of them are bringing Uncle Tony or Juan Carlos or whoever, or themselves, for that matter, to the mix. I think it is an unfortunate byproduct of where we are in society, that the name recognition gets you what it is. I think everybody's trying to make money off the court, so to speak, and the quote unquote side hustle The millionaires are not excluded from the side hustle business. I think that it is a solid play. Sure, their marketing presence and name should do that. I would tell any parent that be careful going down a path that may just be the old competitor down the street that just has snazzier T-shirts and the logo with that player's name on there and another $150 price point on that to pay for itself. Alvin, early days before you and I crossed paths, I was a player getting out of college, I played at Morehouse and Georgia State, and the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, right?
Yeah.
NBTA was going with sites all over the country.
I didn't know about that.
They were expanding out of Florida, Sarasota, Bradenton, wherever they were.
Bradenton,
they were going into these places. The old school Sports Life, which is, as you guys, I know you were in Smyrna growing up. They're in Marietta / around the corner from Smyrna, I guess it was, where the old Sports Life was when we first got started way back. I remember the whole red zones of tennis, and I was actually employed by the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy for all of 8 months. It was still there under contract. And what I learned was they were trying to throw a methodology. They were trying to have a feeder program for Florida, and so on and so on. What I understood then at the time was they really didn't care too much about the level of tennis. They wanted to put their name there, and they were going to come through about once a year, maybe twice, and take a look at wherever the kids were on some of your thicker weeks and just do a little talent identification.
Okay.
It was a money grab then. It's a money grab now. Sure. Is it a talent ID? Sure. For that one kid out of 150 that they may take a look at. I feel the tennis world is smaller now. I feel like everybody can go to Mallorca, Spain for Rafa, or go to wherever they are in Spain for Carlos. And I think it's a bit early. I want to get to Carlos and Naomi Osaka and even Coco Gauff, who are starting their own management agencies and other programs. That's another talk show. I think they're way too early in their careers to be putting that together when they are still establishing their own career. Another talk show. But I want to say for the Academy side, hats off to them. Let their money work for them. Hey, as they say, don't hit the player, hit the game. You know what I mean? Yep. I'm 100% a fan of what they're doing on a business level. My concern is the gullible tennis parent that will go there thinking that these people have the new trick on how to squeeze orange juice out of an orange when everybody squeezes orange juice out of the orange the same way, through hard work, good oranges, right?
Good oranges.
And that's the key, good oranges, right? And making sure that the machine that presses the orange is the best there is at getting the best time and the best pressure out of that orange as possible. But the orange has to be a quality orange to get good orange juice.
And probably in a good climate too, which we'll use, in this analogy, we use climate as other people or like the environment in which you train. Other people around you.
If that player was good enough at their current or their local situation down the street, they would probably be best spending more time with said coach. Otherwise, they're going to get the also rans, the people that aren't as good, the parents who think that it's not my kid, it's the coach in front of them. In which case, they're going to go to that place, have a week or two, get the T-shirt, and yes, Alvin, that is 100% the definition of the money grab. They know that Nike camp or that Alcaraz or that Nadal Academy is still being worked by so-and-so who was there for the last 3 years before the contract. And unless there is a process to earn a trip to get to France, Spain, etc., then you are dealing with a program that is just using the name of marketing. And again, hats off to them for trying and doing their thing. In my opinion, I've been doing this for 30 years. The coaches make the players. The programs don't make the players. The coaches do. And that coach has made that player, right? I guarantee you the next young star that came through or that has come through, They came through before. Alcaraz was a good young player before Juan Carlos put his eyes on him. And then he came to Juan Carlos' academy and was wearing his T-shirt for a little bit. Now he's got his own. I guarantee when Carlos Moya went through Mallorca and said, hey, looking for a good player. We got this kid, Rafa Nadal. He's great. You're going to love him. Works hard.
Yeah.
Carlos.
Yeah.
And so on and so on. And I say that to say that player had a coach, had a program. I guarantee he wasn't found in some East Bumble location that, the Juan Carlos Ferrero Academy had in some East Bumble place in Spain somewhere. They were there. They knew this kid was good. They saw him. They had him. And that's my point. The cream tends to rise to the top. And I say that to say, hats off to those players. It's a money grab. If you have a good player, this is for the listeners at home, and he or she is gravitating and doing well with the coach in front of you, stick with your coach. Get that coach to get them as good as possible. When they get pretty good, travel around to the better academies to get different match play. Maybe get a few tips on things. Get a fresh perspective. That's 100% your choice and, quite frankly, necessary. But then come back to your coach with that information and then help that coach get you even better. And then at the moment that you feel your coach is tapped out, he or she's done as much as they can do, then you start looking for the next best thing for your child. Yeah. Don't go for that name. That name could care 2 cents about where you are in your trajectory and where you are with your tennis. They're there to sell some T-shirts, some lessons, and get some revenue. And they're going to be sitting in some meeting, in some board meeting, don't have a clue who you are and what you are with tennis. And they're going to see at location 157. How was the revenue there in week 3? All right, thank you.
Right.
Okay. How about week 4? Your name's never even going to come up.
Yeah, I'll say no notes on my end. And I think I think that's a good place to pause. We will we'll keep moving along. We have some fun stuff in store. We'll probably check back in when things heat up again around about the Madrid time. I think
it'd be a good time to do it. All the 1000s we should give it a love to.
Yeah.
Here's my one parting thought, Alvin. I have not been as excited with the field, with the potential of the field. And by the field, I'm talking about the at-large field in a long time. It has the downside, if there is one, the downside of the big three is that they're such known entities and they take over tennis for so long that you forget all the other good up-and-comers and how good they actually are. And I have not been this excited. I was excited during Australia. I started seeing 5 to 10 players coming out of the woodwork. And I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? And I was really impressed to see it. I'm starting to see as most players continue. New players, including Mensik, who weren't necessarily in that conversation then, that have come up since then. Draper has come along and put a name, not that he was a new one up and coming. He's already been a pretty good player, but came to the fore actually and had a great Andy Wells. Yao Fonseca's played some better tennis since then, and others. We're starting to see a whole new not only the current up-and-comers, and by up-and-comers, I'm talking about future top fivers, like your Ben Sheltons, like your Tommy Pauls, like your de Minaurs, but also your 20 and outs, like your Arthur Feast, right? Like your, give a lot of credit to Lorenzo Musetti for this past week of tennis. Played some great ball.
He's sniffing top 10 right now.
Sniffing top 10. And now you still got to deal with Fonseca, Lerner team and Tim and the Wong kid that beat Ben Shelton in Miami. There's still a bunch of new ones that are coming up that are showing, buddy. Don't count. Surrender low. These guys are coming through that are showing me, buddy. It's going to be a rocky clay season. Be ready. And remember my name. And I think that's something I look forward to. In the absence, we now have a vacuum. And a lot of these players are really going to show. It makes tennis exciting again to really see. We're going to have some older players that are getting long in the tooth that are going to have to either put up, shut up. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate for the Zverevs, for the Medis, for the even the Rublevs. They're going to have to really kind of put up or shut up. Dimitrov, what we love, but buddy, these new up and comers are saying, I don't
think we're really going to get a feel for the group. This is the funny thing about this part of the year, right? You got to hit, because clay is slower, right?
Yep.
You got to hit a lot of balls to prove that you're better. Right. And over time, tennis will tend to revert towards its due place, right? It's the better player generally wins the match, generally. Yep. Right.
Especially on clay in the long match.
Right. And clay, it's just, it is exasperated, right? So I think this is exacerbated. Wow, it's oh man, I'm gonna hate that one in post prod. Okay, so yeah, I think this is kind of Carlos's space to just like fill up. He's just gonna fill up this space, and then Giannis gonna come back. He's gonna be he's gonna be I think he'll actually be sharper than we would expect, because he does pretty well, like with little warm up
to take off.
Yeah,
he ain't the type to take off. He ain't been sipping.
Well, even like match play wise, I'm sure he's getting enough. Like, he's finding some players somewhere, but like I know he takes time off, like after ATP finals, and then just doesn't play a warm up event, and then pops up, wins Australian Open, right? So like he can do that. Yeah. So I think once we get through the French Open, Wimbledon's weird, grass is weird, right? It is what it is.
Weird 3-4 weeks.
This is weird. I'm very excited for like Cincinnati. Like I feel like everything's gonna, like, that's when we start to like, all right, Arthur Fees, show me what you got. All right, Jack Draper, show me what you got. All right, yeah, like
I just think it's gonna be a good year, and I think the French is gonna be up and down. There's gonna be some people that are gonna knock off some people. There's gonna be it's just a great time for tennis right now. In the absence of the big three, we now have a lot of players that are going to fill those spots, and I think for the next couple of years it's going to be nice. But I really am looking forward to the clay court season right now because of so many up and comers. And I feel like we literally have three different types of up and comers. You have your current, 7 and out. You have your current 25 and out who are trying to edge closer. And you got your 50 and out, been on the tour a year or two, that are breaking in. That are showing they have the goods. And you really got that 5 through 8, perennially the last 3 or 4 years that are really going to find downshift and find a way to upshift again, going uphill at the end of their career. And this is going to be, Dimitrov went out 0-0, Alvin. He went out 0-0. Now, mind you, that was a bit of a blip and kind of a glitch, but make no mistake.
I think it's more representative of like him lately in the back end of events. Like he's just, it's what happens in age, right? You can do it. It's just hard to do it again.
Hard to do it again.
And so
hard to do it back to back. And he played that
after tough
great matches, and then boom, just fell flat.
And that's the awesome thing about Monte Carlo, right? Like Monte Carlo it's a tight 1,000, right? No BS. 64 with a couple of buys here and there, but then it's like every day, and it's just the guys, and it's just 1 week. Like it is like you said before, like Masters 1000s are kind of tougher than Grand Slams because you don't have as much rest, especially when it's single gender, and there's no holes. Like there are no wild cards. I mean, there's like 2 or 3, but like qualifiers they're sparse. It's
your boy
it's go time
pulled out, and they put Minsick in. I mean, that's not a wild card,
right? Yeah, the guy who just won a 1,000, the guy who just won a Masters 1,000 a couple weeks ago didn't make the cut. He missed the cut.
That's what I'm
saying. Fonseca missed the cut. Yeah, so. Yeah, I hope Monte Carlo never changes. I'm not a huge fan. I actually, the longer 1,000s, I understand why they happen, whatever. But Monte Carlo is,
Isner is pushing to have, he's recommending, I think it's a good idea, by the way, to have Monte Carlo have both genders. I think it would be a great event. But to your point, that would make Monte Carlo be a 2-week long event.
Yeah. It naturally has to be longer.
And I think that would be a good one just for the scenery. I would love to do it. I'd love to go there and have 4 or 5 days to watch both the guys and the girls at Monte Carlo. But to your point, it does make for a longer event. And then it's going to push an end somewhere and some event. And who knows? We need to have an episode on the tour itself and some of the coolest places that the tour goes to. And then we need to kind of set our own bucket list of ones we need to go to and experience ourselves firsthand, and that would be a cool episode to have and show.
Monte Carlo's top of my list for sure.
Monte Carlo might be the first one off both of our lists to get started.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's before we get too late, let's sign off here. That was a good one. TH, appreciate you.
Always.
We will catch you. We'll catch you guys next time. Take
Looking
care.
forward to it. Peace.